At this time, I want to introduce a North Korean human rights activist, an expert, and a friend of the KCC, Joshua Stanton.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 제가 스탠턴 조슈입니다. 1998년에서 2002년까지 제가 대한민국에서 육군 대위 법무관이었어요. 2003년부터 지금까지 제가 북한 인권 투쟁했었어요. 대단히 감사합니다. 한국말 너무 많이 잊어버렸어요. 그래서 오늘 영어로 말씀하겠습니다. As I was saying, I'm a former soldier, I'm a blogger, I'm an activist, and I also happen to be a lawyer. I am here speaking today as just a private citizen, not really representing anyone else, but I will say that it was my great and distinct honor last year to be asked to come to the House Foreign Affairs Committee to help write H.R. 1771, which has 145 bipartisan co-sponsors. I wish, and I think I would not be out of line in saying that the atmosphere of bipartisanship as we wrote this bill and as we engaged in friendly arguments back and forth between the Republican and Democratic staff was outstanding. We all walked away from those discussions as friends, and today you can see that proud liberal Democrats and proud conservative like Loretta Sanchez and proud conservative Republicans like Suzanne Schulte have joined together in this cause, because what unites us is that this is what we are as a country, and what we are. What we are as a country is we are a people who believe that it is wrong, that it is immoral to stand by while our brothers and sisters are murdered, no matter how far away, and particularly if we are unknowingly helping, aiding and abetting that murder, because our financial system today is being used to launder money, is being used to move the funds that Kim Jong-un is using to crack down on his own people, to starve his people, to use to collect funds from proliferation and illegal gambling and all kinds of nefarious activities. I'm not going to bore you today with a lot of facts and figures, but I want to give you a few. In 2013, the World Food Program asked for $200 million for a 2-year program to feed hungry North Koreans. 84% of North Korean households, according to a recent UN survey, have poor or borderline food consumption. The people are still starving. They're not dying by the millions. Today, they're only dying by the hundreds or the thousands. That is still wrong, because in the same year the World Food Program asked for the $200 million, Kim Jong-un spent $300 million on a ski resort and a water park, a miniature golf course, a 3D cinema, and a gym that he does not appear to have been using. Much of that money flows through our financial system, and that which does not flow through our financial system flows through banks that need access to our financial system. Our Treasury Department is the sharpest tool in this president's arsenal. It is the hardest tool of soft power that we have, and it sits just a few blocks away from where we are right now. The Treasury Department was able to sanction the Iranian economy, which is 20 times the size of North Korea's economy, and bring it to the verge of bankruptcy within 2 years and bring it back to nuclear talks. This week, the Treasury Department republished its entire sanctions regulations against Zimbabwe, including its president, his wife, his son, and all of his top minions. Now, There are terrible things going on in Zimbabwe today, and I'm not here to say that there are not. But does anyone here really believe that the human rights abuses in Zimbabwe are the equal of those in North Korea today? Do you? Do you think that Zimbabwe represents the threat to the United States or to our allies that North Korea represents today? Is Zimbabwe the arsenal of terror that proliferates chemical weapons to Syria, nuclear weapons to Syria, suspected of proliferating nuclear weapons technology to Iran and selling missiles to every high bidder? No, it's North Korea that is doing that. Who is directly threatening the integrity of our financial system by using it to launder the proceeds of illicit activity and counterfeit U.S. currency? It's North Korea. Yet, if you were to review the North Korea sanctions regulations as carefully as I have, I will tell you that the North Korea sanctions regulations are some of the weakest on the books today. The sanctions against Iran, Zimbabwe, Cuba, and Syria by comparison are comprehensive. They require almost all transactions with those regimes to be licensed by the Office of Foreign Assets Control. Our North Korea sanctions are, for the most part, old-fashioned trade sanctions, the kind that took decades to work in South Africa and never really worked in Iraq, and a combination of whack-a-mole individual financial sanctions that will only work long enough for North Korea to change the name of a bank or a company and to move its money somewhere else. I know that for every Korean person, close to their hearts is the desire for reunification, for reform, for change. And so I sympathize with the architects of the Sunshine Policy when they wanted to use policy choices in order to change North Korea. But 16 years after that experiment began, it is time to ask ourselves whether it has succeeded. I would argue to you that throwing money at Kim Jong-il has not changed North Korea for the better, and it is changing Kim Jong-un's regime for the worse. Kim Jong-un's regime has been marked by a growing inequality in the use of North Korea's wealth, by crackdowns on refugees, on information, on cell phones, and even on the private agriculture and markets that are keeping 80% of North Koreans alive today. North Koreans today do not depend on the food aid that no one is giving it anymore. Today, North Koreans depend on those markets and whatever crops they can grow out of sight of the regime, but the regime is ordering those crops cut down and seized. So H.R. 1771 is designed to put North Korea's foreign assets into receivership. It is designed to block the assets of the regime and of its third-party enablers, such as the banks in China and in Europe that are holding its deposits. And finally, it specifically targets those, including Kim Jong-un, who are responsible for crimes against humanity. 5 months ago, a UN Commission of Inquiry delivered a 372-page report finding atrocious crimes in North Korea. They are holding at least 100,000 men, women, and children in concentration camps that are the equivalent of things that we saw in places like Buchenwald and Mauthausen, where people are starved to death and tortured to death and allowed to die of disease. An entire camp at Camp 22 was simply liquidated, and we have no idea what happened to the prisoners there. Camp 25 is said to hold a crematorium, and that camp has recently expanded to double its previous size. What has the administration done about this? In 5 months, it has had no serious response. If you read the Treasury Department's website, they issue new sanctions regulations against other countries every week. They have sanctioned Vladimir Putin's closest advisors and the president of Zimbabwe, but not Kim Jong-un. What is the administration afraid of, and why are they paralyzed? They remind me of nothing more than the Clinton administration during the Rwanda genocide, when the administration stood by and did nothing and 1 million people died, and Samantha Power wrote a book about it. Well, now Samantha Power is our ambassador to the United Nations. I have a message for Samantha Power, and I hope she will hear it. Ambassador Power, North Korea is your Rwanda. Ambassador Power, it is time for you to tell the president that he must act, that he has a duty to act. It is... One of the reasons why this issue is so personal to me is that my wife is Korean, and when I see the kgochebi in the markets in Hamhung and Cheongjin, I see the faces of children who look like my children. Another of the reasons is what I heard of the story of Yu Sang-jun. That was one of the most profoundly moving things, and I had no idea that I would be sitting next to him here today. This issue is also personal to me because I'm Jewish. And when the Holocaust happened, my people were also confused and paralyzed. The State Department was determined not to act just as it is determined not to act in North Korea. My people made the mistake of not unifying and not speaking up, and my people were massacred. Please don't make the mistake that my people made, and I am so proud and happy to see so many of you learned the lesson of history. Let's not let the words "never again" be another lie. Thank you.